The space around Nexus Prime had never seen so many warships in one place. 200 Federation vessels formed defensive rings around their capital world, their weapons charged and ready for the human fleet that intelligence said was coming. Admiral Sam Johnson stood on the bridge of the USS Enterprise, Earth's flagship, and counted the enemy ships with the calm eye of a veteran warrior. "They brought everything they had," reported Commander Mary Taylor from her position at the tactical station. Her voice carried no fear, only the professional assessment of a soldier who had seen too many battles. 200 ships against our 50. They think numbers will save them. Sam nodded, his weathered face showing no emotion. At 63 years old, he had spent his entire adult life preparing for a war that nobody thought would come. Now that it was here, he felt oddly peaceful. This was what humans did best, fight when their backs were against the wall. "Dr. Williams, any word from the diplomatic channels?" he asked. Dr. Rachel Williams looked up from her communication console, her face tight with frustration. She had spent weeks trying to arrange peace talks, but the Federation refused to listen. "To reason, nothing, Admiral. They're demanding our complete surrender and the evacuation of all human colonies. They want us to return to Earth and never leave the solar system again. And if we refuse, complete extermination of our species." Sam looked out at the Federation fleet and felt something cold settle in his chest. They had tried diplomacy. They had tried showing restraint. The Federation had chosen to see those gestures as weakness rather than mercy. "All ships, this is Admiral Johnson," he said into his communication device. "Battle stations. Today we show them what human determination really looks like." The human fleet spread out in a formation that confused the Federation commanders. Instead of grouping together for mutual protection, the human ships scattered across a wide area, each one seeming to operate independently. To alien strategists, trained in conventional warfare, it looked like chaos. The first shots came from the Federation side. Admiral Zix-9, his mechanical body repaired since the asteroid field battle, commanded the central battle group. His electronic brain had calculated every possible human tactic, but he failed to account for the one thing that made humans unique among intelligent species: their ability to improvise under pressure. Captain Jake Morrison, commanding the USS Discovery, demonstrated this perfectly. When 3 Corvan destroyers targeted his ship, he did something no Federation captain would ever consider. He flew directly toward the enemy fire, using his ship's damaged hull sections as shields while returning fire with weapons that should not have been able to penetrate Corvan armor, but Tony Rodriguez had been busy again. The human engineer had spent the last month studying captured Federation technology, and he had learned something interesting about alien shield generators. They were designed to stop energy weapons and projectiles, but they had never been tested against something as primitive as kinetic slugs fired at near-light speed. The Corvan destroyers died without understanding what killed them. "Impossible," Admiral Zix-9 transmitted to his fleet. "Humans cannot have weapons that can penetrate our defenses." "We don't," Sam Johnson replied, opening a communication channel to the alien commander. "We have something better. We have the ability to turn your own technology against you." The battle raged across the star system for hours. The Federation had numbers and firepower, but the humans had something their enemies could not comprehend: the willingness to sacrifice individual ships for the success of the pack. Commander Mary Taylor proved this when her ship, the USS Valiant, was surrounded by 5 Federation cruisers. Instead of trying to escape, she coordinated with 3 other human vessels to create a complex attack pattern that destroyed 2 enemy ships at the cost of her own. Her last transmission was calm and professional. "Target priority Alpha eliminated. Continue the mission." The Federation commanders watched in horror as human ships threw themselves into impossible situations, not out of desperation, but as part of calculated strategies that their individual focused minds could not understand. These beings fought like a single organism with multiple bodies, each part willing to die so the whole could survive. But the most disturbing moment came when the humans captured Admiral Zix-9's flagship. The mechanical admiral found himself surrounded by human boarding parties led by Sergeant Danny Brooks, the same Marine who had demonstrated combat techniques. During first contact months ago, Danny looked at the alien commander with eyes that held no hatred, only professional assessment. "Admiral, you're coming with us." "You will execute me," Zix9 stated, his electronic voice showing no emotion. "No," Danny replied. "Humans don't kill prisoners. That's what makes us different from the monsters you think we are." The alien commander processed this information with confusion. In his database of intelligent species, apex predators always killed defeated rivals. The concept of mercy from a position of strength was outside his programming. The turning point of the battle came when the human fleet suddenly stopped fighting. All 50 ships powered down their weapons simultaneously, floating dead in space as Federation forces surrounded them. To the aliens, it looked like surrender. Admiral Johnson's voice filled the communication channels, speaking not just to the Federation fleet, but to every inhabited world within 100 light years. "This is Admiral Sam Johnson of the Earth. Defense Force, we could have destroyed your fleet. We could have bombarded your worlds. We could have proven that we are the apex predators you fear." The Federation commanders held their fire, confused by this unexpected development. "Instead, we choose to show you what humans really are. We are a species that fights when threatened, but we prefer to protect rather than destroy. We are predators who have learned to be guardians." Dr. Rachel Williams took over the communication, her voice carrying the authority of someone who spoke for an entire species. "We propose a new arrangement. Humans will serve as the Federation's defense force. We will protect your worlds from external threats, and in return you will allow us to exist as equals in the galaxy. Why should we trust you?" Came the reply from Supreme Counselor Tizara. Speaking from the safety of Nexus Prime. The answer came from an unexpected source. Admiral Zix9, now a prisoner aboard the human flagship, sent his own message to the Federation fleet. "Because they could have killed me and they chose not to. They could have destroyed us all and they chose restraint. These beings are not the mindless predators we feared. They are something far more dangerous, predators with conscience." The mechanical admiral paused, his electronic brain processing concepts that challenged everything he had been programmed to believe. "I recommend we accept their proposal. Not because we must, but because having humans as allies may be our greatest hope for survival in a hostile galaxy." The negotiations that followed lasted 3 days. Janet Clark, Earth's best diplomat, worked alongside linguist Paul Harris to hammer out the details of humanity's new role in galactic society. The Federation would accept humans as equals, but with the understanding that humanity would serve as their military arm against external threats. It was a role that suited both species perfectly. The Federation races could continue their peaceful development, while humans did what they had always done best: stand guard against the darkness. The final scene took place 6 months later. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Discovery as it led a joint human-alien fleet toward the edge of the galaxy. Long-range sensors had detected something approaching from the void between galaxies, ships unlike anything in Federation records. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Morrison of the Galactic Defense Force," he broadcast toward the approaching threat. "State your intentions or prepare to be engaged." The reply came in a language that hurt to hear, spoken by beings that had never learned the meaning of mercy. "We are the Devourers. We consume worlds and species. Prepare for extinction." Jake looked around his bridge at the mixed crew of humans and aliens working together. Dr. Lisa Carter analyzed the enemy ships while Commander Vexstar coordinated with the Federation fleet. Former enemies had become family, united by a common purpose. "All ships, this is Morrison," Jake said calmly. "Looks like the galaxy has a new threat. Time to show them why aliens used to fear humans as apex predators." As the combined fleet moved toward battle, the galaxy's newest guardians prepared to do what humans had always done: protect their pack from anything that threatened it. The species that had once been feared as ultimate predators had become something even more powerful, They had become the ultimate protectors. The stars themselves seemed to shine, brighter as humanity and their alien allies headed into the unknown, ready to face whatever nightmares the universe could throw at them, together. The asteroid field around Kepler 438 looked like a graveyard of broken worlds. Chunks of rock the size of cities drifted through space, casting shadows that shifted and moved as they tumbled in their ancient dance. It was the perfect place for an ambush. Captain Steve Parker crouched in the cramped command center of the USS Nighthawk, watching the sensor displays with the patience of a born hunter. 3 days had passed since his meeting with Captain Murphy's flotilla, and now 8. Human ships hid among the asteroids like wolves waiting for prey. Federation patrol approaching from Vector 77, reported Nicole Walsh from her tactical station. Her voice was calm, professional, but Steve could hear the edge of anticipation underneath. They had been running and hiding for weeks. Now it was time to bite back. The enemy formation consisted of 5 ships, 2 Corvin destroyers, 2 Xanthari cruisers, and 1 massive Nexus battleship. Against 8 human vessels, it should have been an easy victory for the Federation. But the aliens had made one crucial mistake. They thought like civilized beings who fought wars with rules and honor. Humans had learned to fight on a world where rules meant death. "All ships, this is Parker," Steve whispered into his communication device. "Remember the plan. We make them come to us, then we show them what pack hunting really means." The Federation ships entered the asteroid field in a tight formation, their sensors sweeping back and forth as they searched for the human vessels. Admiral Zix-9 commanded the battleship from his mechanical throne, his electronic brain calculating thousands of possible attack vectors. But he was thinking like a computer, not like a predator. The first shot came from behind a mountain-sized asteroid. Captain Murphy's ship, the USS Defiant, emerged from cover just long enough to fire a spread of missiles at the trailing Xanthari cruiser. The alien ship's shields flared bright blue as they absorbed the impact. But the real purpose was distraction. While the Federation ships turned to face Murphy's threat, the other 7 human vessels struck from different angles. They came out of the asteroid shadows like sharks rising from dark water, each one targeting a different enemy ship. Steve watched the tactical display as the ambush unfolded with deadly precision. Tony Rodriguez, commanding the USS Wolverine, had somehow modified his ship's engines to give off false sensor readings. The Corvins thought they were chasing a damaged freighter until Tony's real weapons tore through their hull plating. "Their formation is breaking apart," Nicole reported with satisfaction. "The Nexus ship is trying to regroup them, but they're panicking." Steve nodded, but kept his attention on the bigger picture. This was just the opening move. The real test would come when the aliens realized they were not fighting a conventional space battle. Admiral Zix-9's mechanical voice cut through the communication channels, speaking in the cold tones of artificial intelligence. "All Federation units, maintain formation. Do not pursue individual human vessels. They are attempting to divide our forces." But it was too late. The Corvan captains, bred for individual glory in combat, had already broken formation to chase what they saw as easy targets. The Xanthari, confused by the humans' hit-and-run tactics, scattered in different directions trying to find cover among the asteroids. "Now," Steve ordered. The second phase of the ambush began. Kate Stevens, piloting the medical ship Mercy, dropped her disguise and revealed the weapons Murphy's engineers had hidden in her cargo holds. The Federation had ignored her because she was marked as a non-combatant. That mistake cost them a cruiser. Mechanic Tony Rodriguez proved why humans were the galaxy's best engineers. Mid-battle, he managed to reverse-engineer a captured Federation shield generator and integrate it into his ship's defenses. When the Nexus battleship focused its main guns on him, Tony's ship absorbed the energy and bounced it back at double strength. "Impossible," Admiral Zix-9's voice crackled over the communication channels. "Human technology cannot match Federation systems." "Maybe not," Steve said, opening a channel to the alien commander. "But human creativity can." The battle raged through the asteroid field for 2 hours. The Federation ships had superior firepower and armor, but the humans fought like they had evolved to fight. As a coordinated pack that could adapt to any situation in real time, Commander Lisa Brooks, leading the USS Predator, demonstrated the human ability to turn disadvantages into weapons. When her ship's main engine was damaged, she used the explosion to fake her own destruction. The Xanthari ship that came to investigate the wreckage found itself face to face with a very much alive human vessel at point-blank range, but the most terrifying moment for the aliens came when they captured one of the human ships. The USS Falcon, commanded by Captain Janet Ross, had taken too much damage to escape. The Nexus battleship tractored her in, expecting to take prisoners for interrogation. Instead, Janet and her crew turned their own ship into a weapon. They overloaded the reactor, armed every explosive device on board, and rammed the Falcon directly into the battleship's docking bay. The explosion tore through 3 decks of the Nexus vessel, killing dozens of mechanical crew members. They destroyed themselves rather than surrender, one of the Xanthari captains reported, his voice shaking with something that might have been terror. What kind of species sacrifices itself for tactical advantage? The kind that evolved to hunt in packs, Steve replied over the open channel. The kind that will die before letting threats reach their family. Admiral Zix-9 processed this information with electronic precision, but for the first time in his artificial existence, he felt something that might have been fear. These humans did not fight like any species in Federation records. They fought like they had nothing to lose and everything to protect. The tide of battle turned when the remaining human ships converged on the crippled Nexus battleship. Instead of finishing it off, they began a coordinated attack pattern that the aliens had never seen before. Each ship took turns striking different sections of the battleship, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted effectively. They are playing with us, Admiral Zix-9 realized. This is not warfare, this is demonstration. He was right. The humans were showing the Federation exactly what they were capable of when pushed too far. Every shot was precisely aimed, every maneuver calculated for maximum psychological impact. They could have destroyed the battleship in minutes, but instead they took it apart piece by piece. Federation ships, this is Captain Parker, Steve broadcast on all frequencies. Your admiral is right. We are demonstrating something. We are showing you what happens when you threaten our pack. The USS Wolverine fired a surgical strike that disabled the battleship's main weapons without killing anyone. The USS Predator took out the enemy's shields with a precision that required computer-level accuracy. The USS Defiant crippled the engines with a shot that missed the crew quarters by less than 10 meters. We could kill all of you right now, Steve continued, but we choose not to. That choice is what makes us different from the monsters you think we are. Admiral Zix-9's sensors detected more contacts approaching through the asteroid field. Human reinforcements were arriving, not just ships, but entire battle groups that had somehow slipped past Federation patrols undetected. Captain Bill Murphy's voice joined the conversation, broadcasting from the bridge of his flagship. Admiral, you came here to hunt 3 human ships. Instead, you found 30. We've been watching your patrols, learning your patterns, predicting your moves. That's what predators do. We study our prey before we strike. The mechanical admiral calculated his options and found them all unacceptable. His fleet was outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and completely at the mercy of beings he had thought were primitive savages. What do you want? He asked. We want you to go back to your Federation, Steve replied. We want you to tell them exactly what happened here. Tell them that humans are not the monsters they fear. We are something much more dangerous. We are monsters who choose when to be monsters. The surviving Federation ships limped away from the asteroid field, their hulls scarred and their crews shaken. Behind them, the human fleet regrouped among the rocks and shadows, already planning their next move. Steve stood on his bridge, watching the alien ships retreat into the darkness of space. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. The Federation had learned that humans were not easy prey. Now they would have to decide if they wanted to make peace with the apex predators or face the consequences of continuing the hunt. In The depths of space, more human ships moved through the darkness, heading for Federation worlds with a message that would change the galaxy forever. The prey had become the hunters, and there was nowhere left to hide. Captain Steve Parker pressed his face against the cold metal wall of the maintenance shaft. The USS Nighthawk drifted silent and dark through space, running on minimum power to avoid detection. He could hear his own heartbeat in the cramped space, steady and calm despite the danger they were in. "Contact ahead," whispered Nicole Walsh from her position near the shaft opening. The tactical officer's voice barely carried through the recycled air. 3 Federation patrol ships, running search patterns. Steve nodded, though she could not see him in the darkness. 6 weeks had passed since the quarantine of Earth's solar system, and the Federation had made it clear that any human ship found outside the restricted zone would be destroyed. The Nighthawk had slipped through their blockade using stealth, technology that pushed their engines to the breaking point. Behind him, communications specialist Chris Turner worked on a jury-rigged listening device. His fingers moved across alien components they had salvaged from a destroyed Federation probe. The young man had a gift for making technology work, even when it came from species humanity had never met. "I'm getting something," Chris said, his voice tight with concentration. "Encrypted Federation communications. Give me a minute to break through their security." Steve crawled forward to where Nicole crouched by the observation port. Through the thick glass, he could see the alien ships moving in formation. They were sleek vessels with curved hulls that seemed to bend light around them, beautiful and deadly. "Any idea what class those are?" he asked. "Corvan destroyers, I think," Nicole replied. "Heavy weapons, fast engines, built for war, not exploration." That worried Steve more than he wanted to admit. The Corvans were supposed to be one of the more peaceful Federation species, but these ships looked like they meant business. If even the peaceful aliens were sending warships to hunt humans, the situation was worse than Earth Command had realized. "Got it," Chris announced. "Their communications are coming through now, and Captain, you need to hear this." Steve and Nicole squeezed back through the maintenance shaft to where Chris had set up his equipment. The alien voices came through the speakers, translated by the computer into flat, mechanical English. "Corvan Command to Hunter Group 7. Status report. We have completed sweep of grid section 42. No human vessels detected. Proceeding to next search zone. Understood. Remember, orders are to destroy on sight. No prisoners, no warnings." Steve felt his blood turn cold. The Federation was not just enforcing a quarantine anymore. They were actively hunting human ships with orders to kill. "There's more," Chris said, adjusting the controls. "I'm picking up communications from at least 6 different species. They're coordinating a galaxy-wide search for human vessels." The next few hours revealed the full scope of what they were facing. Federation ships were spread across dozens of star systems, all looking for humans who had ventured beyond Earth's solar system. The orders were the same everywhere: destroy any human vessel immediately. But there was something else in the communications that made Steve's skin crawl. The aliens were not just hunting military ships. They were looking for human colonies, research stations, anything that proved humanity had spread beyond their home system. "They found the mining station at Proxima Centauri," Nicole reported, her face pale as she listened to the intercepted messages. "Destroyed it 3 days ago. 47 people were working there." Steve closed his eyes and tried to push down, the anger building in his chest. 47 miners and engineers killed because the galaxy was afraid of what humans might become. "Captain," Chris called out, his voice urgent, "you need to hear this. It's a private communication between Federation commanders." The new voice that came through the speakers was different from the others, colder, more mechanical. Steve recognized it as belonging to the Nexus Collective, the machine intelligence that served as one of the Federation's military leaders, Admiral Zix-9 to General Thulkar. "The human problem requires more aggressive action." "Agreed," came the reply in the harsh tones of a Corvan military leader. "The quarantine has failed. Human ships continue to appear in Federation space. Our analysis indicates that humans have established hidden colonies and supply bases throughout this region. They are like a disease that has already spread before we notice the symptoms. Steve's hands clenched into fists. Disease. That was what they thought of humanity now. What do you recommend? General Folkar asked. Complete sterilization of the Sol system. It is the only way to ensure the threat is eliminated permanently. The communication ended, leaving the three humans sitting in stunned silence. Genocide. The Federation was discussing the complete destruction of Earth and everyone on it. We have to warn Earth Command, Nicole said, but Steve was already shaking his head. We can't break communication silence. The moment we send a signal, every Federation ship in this sector will know where we are. Then what do? Steve looked at his two crew members, seeing his own determination reflected in their faces. They were just three people in a single small ship, but they were human. That had to count for something. We gather intelligence, he said. We find out everything we can about their plans, their ship movements, their weaknesses. Then we make them regret thinking humans are easy prey. Over the next week, the Nighthawks shadowed Federation patrol groups across 3 star systems. They watched, they listened, and they learned. The aliens had superior technology and numbers. But Steve began to notice something interesting in their communications. They were afraid. Every Federation captain reported the same concerns. Human ships were harder to track than expected. When cornered, humans fought with a ferocity that caught the aliens off guard. Most disturbing to the Federation commanders, humans seemed to learn from every encounter, adapting their tactics faster than alien strategists could counter them. The breakthrough came when Chris intercepted a distress call from a Federation research vessel. The ship had tried to capture a human freighter for study, but something had gone wrong. "This is Research Vessel Enlightenment requesting immediate assistance," the panicked voice reported. "The human prisoners have escaped containment. They have taken control of sections 4 through 7. We cannot predict their actions," Steve smiled grimly. Even as prisoners, humans were proving to be more than the aliens could handle. "Captain," Nicole said, studying the tactical display, "I'm reading 17 Federation ships converging on that research vessel. They're treating 3 escaped humans like a fleet invasion." "Because to them, that's exactly what it is," Steve replied. "They've spent so long living in peace that they've forgotten what real predators look like." The rescue of the human prisoners became a turning point. Steve watched as the Federation ships surrounded the research vessel, afraid to board it themselves. Instead, they bombarded it from a distance, destroying their own ship rather than risk facing the humans in close combat. "They're more afraid of us than we realized," Chris observed, watching the alien tactical formations. "Look how they position their ships. Maximum distance, overlapping fields of fire. They're not hunting us like fellow intelligent beings. They're treating us like wild animals." Steve nodded, but his expression was thoughtful rather than triumphant. "The question is, are they wrong?" As if in answer to his question, the Nighthawk sensors detected new contacts. 3 more human ships appeared. On the edge of the system, running dark and silent, Captain Bill Murphy's flotilla had found them. Steve opened a tight beam communication to the other ships. Murphy's grizzled face appeared on the screen, looking older than Steve remembered from their academy days. "Steve, good to see you're still breathing," Murphy said. "We've been tracking Federation movements across 4 sectors. They've got hunting groups everywhere, but they're making mistakes." "What kind of mistakes?" "The kind that apex predators exploit," Murphy replied with a Volf's grin. "They're spread too thin, their communication patterns are predictable, and they keep underestimating us. I think it's time we showed them what humans can really do when we're hunting something." Steve looked at his crew, seeing the same predatory gleam in their eyes that he felt in his own heart. The Federation had called humans apex predators as an insult. Maybe it was time to prove them right. "Transmit your tactical data," Steve ordered. "Let's coordinate our next move." As the human ships prepared to turn from hunted to hunters, Steve realized that the galaxy was about to learn a lesson it would never forget. Humans had evolved on a world where only the strongest, smartest, and most adaptable survived. The Federation had made the mistake of threatening humanity's pack. Now, they would discover what real predators did when their territory was invaded. 3 months after the first meeting with humans, the Galactic Federation Council chamber buzzed with worried voices. 12 different species had sent their best representatives to the emergency session on Nexus Prime, the Federation's capital. World. The air recyclers worked overtime to handle the different atmospheric needs of so many alien races. Supreme Counselor Tusara of the Altarians called for order. Her people were ancient and wise, with pale blue skin and eyes that seemed to hold the knowledge of centuries. When she spoke, her voice carried the authority of 1,000 years of peaceful governance. We have gathered to discuss the report. From Commander Vextar of the Xanthari Empire, she announced. The discovery of a new intelligent species should be cause for celebration. Instead, we face what may be our greatest threat. The chamber fell silent. Representatives from 12 worlds turned their attention to the large screen that dominated one wall. Images from the Xanthari surveillance devices began to play, showing scenes from Earth and the human ship Discovery. Dr. Elena Martinez sat in the gallery reserved for observers. As Earth's first ambassador to the Federation, she had been given permission to witness the proceedings, though she could not yet speak for her people. She was a small woman with dark hair and intelligent eyes, but she felt very alone among the aliens around her. Commander Vextar stood to address the council. His crystalline skin had taken on darker hues since his encounter with the humans, a sign of stress among his people. Honored counselors, what we discovered changes everything. We thought we knew about intelligent life. The screen showed footage from the Discovery's gymnasium. The council watched in silence as Sergeant Danny Brooks demonstrated human combat techniques. To the aliens, every movement looked like death made elegant. This species calls itself human. Vextar continued. They appear friendly, but their nature tells a different story. Observe how casually they practice violence. Watch how their eyes track movement like hunters seeking prey. Elena shifted in her seat, wanting to defend her species but knowing she had no voice here yet. The footage showed humans eating meals together, and she saw the aliens focus on how humans use knives and forks to cut their food. The Nexus representative, a mechanical being called Unit 447, processed the data with electronic precision. Analysis confirms unusual behavioral patterns. Humans consume other living creatures for sustenance. They have forward-facing eyes, indicating predatory evolution. Their recreational activities involve competition and mock combat. Elena realized, with growing horror, that everything the aliens found disturbing was completely normal to humans. Sports, cooking, even the way humans looked at things, all of it was being interpreted as evidence of a killer species, the Valdris representative. A tall being with flowing robes and multiple tentacles for arms spoke in musical tones. Their emotional bonds are particularly troubling. They form attachments to other species, then consume them. They call it livestock and pets. The psychological capacity to love something, and then kill it suggests a level of predatory sophistication we have never encountered. More footage played showing humans interacting with dogs and cats. The aliens watched a human child hugging a puppy, while the narrator explained that humans had domesticated wolves to serve them. Elena wanted to scream that it was not that simple, but the evidence looked damning when viewed through alien eyes. Engineer Roy Adams and pilot Amy Chen sat beside Elena in the gallery. They had come with her as part of the first diplomatic mission, never expecting to find themselves on trial for crimes they did not understand they had committed. "This is insane," Roy whispered. He was a practical man who fixed things for a living, and the idea that changing the oil in a starship engine made him a monster was beyond his comprehension. Amy nodded, her pilot's instincts telling her they were in serious trouble. "They're afraid of us," she whispered back. "Look at how they're sitting." Body language doesn't lie, even in aliens. The Saurian representative rose to speak. General Keshrak was a reptilian being with scales that shifted color based on his emotions. Right now, those scales showed the deep red of anger and fear. I have studied their history. These humans have conquered their entire planet. Every other intelligent species on their world is extinct. They are the ultimate apex predators. Elena felt sick. The Saurian was not wrong, but he was not right either. Humans had not hunted Neanderthals to extinction on purpose. Evolution was complicated, but try explaining that to beings who saw only the end result. The screen now showed human cities, with the narrator pointing out how humans had covered their planet with artificial structures. Highways looked like scars. Across the landscape, factories pumped smoke into the sky. To the aliens, it looked like a species that consumed worlds. They reproduce rapidly and spread aggressively, Keshrak continued. Their population growth is exponential. They transform entire ecosystems to suit their needs. They are not just predators, they are planetary parasites. Tizara raised a hand for silence. The question before us is clear. Do we welcome these humans into the Federation, or do we protect the galaxy from them? The Xanthari representative stood again. Supreme Counselor, there is more. Our deep scans of their ship revealed weapons throughout the vessel. They carry tools of destruction as casually as we carry communication devices. Every human is a potential warrior. Elena thought about the fire axes in the ship's corridors, the emergency medical kits with their sharp instruments, the kitchen knives in the galley. All of it looked sinister when you expected to find threats. The debate continued for hours. Elena listened as species after species voiced their fears about humanity. The mechanical nexus beings calculated the probability of human aggression. The plant-like Chlorians worried about humans burning their forest worlds. The aquatic depths feared that humans would pollute their oceans. Finally, Tisara called for order. We will vote on the proposal to quarantine the Sol system. All in. Favor? 8 hands, tentacles, and mechanical appendages rose in the air. Elena felt her heart sink as she watched the future of human-alien relations collapse. All opposed? 3 representatives voted against the quarantine. Elena memorized their faces, knowing these beings might be humanity's only allies in the galaxy. The motion passes, Tizara announced. The Sol system will be declared a restricted zone. No ships may enter or leave without Federation approval. Elena stood up, finally finding her voice. Supreme Counselor, I request permission to speak for my people. The chamber turned to look at her. Dozens of alien eyes studied the small human woman who dared to challenge their decision. You may speak, Elena Martinez of Earth. Elena walked to the center of the chamber, feeling very small under the gaze of so many alien beings. Honorable counselors, you see us as monsters because we are different from you. Yes, we evolved as hunters. Yes, we eat meat and we know how to fight. But we also know how to love, how to protect, how to sacrifice ourselves for others. Her voice grew stronger as she continued. You fear us because we survived on a harsh world, but that same strength could help protect all of us from threats you have never faced. Do not judge us by your fears. Judge us by our actions. The chamber was silent when she finished. Elena looked around at the alien faces, trying to read expressions that had no human equivalent. Your words are noted, Tisara said finally, but the decision stands. Humanity will remain in quarantine until we can be certain of your intentions. As the session ended, Elena noticed something that chilled her blood. A small group of representatives gathered in a corner, speaking in hushed tones. The Saurian general was there, along with delegates from the Corvin and Nexus worlds. Amy appeared beside her. We need to leave now. Why? Because I've been listening to their private communications. Some of them don't think quarantine is enough. Elena felt the weight of the galaxy pressing down on her shoulders. Humanity had reached for the stars only to find that the universe was full of beings who saw them as the ultimate threat. The question now was whether fear would lead to something much worse than isolation. The USS Discovery moved through space like a metal shark cutting through dark water. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, watching stars drift past the main screen. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he kept holding the cup anyway. 3 years into their deep space mission, and they still had not found what they were looking for. "Captain, I'm getting something strange on the sensors," Dr. Lisa Carter called from her station. She was the ship's expert on alien life, though. So far she had only studied microbes and dead rocks. Her fingers danced across the control panel, bringing up readings that made her frown. Jake walked over to look at the data. Numbers and graphs filled the screen, but they meant little to him. "What kind of strange energy patterns I've never seen before?" "They're coming from the third moon of Kepler 442b. The signatures are too organized to be natural." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what organized energy signatures meant. After decades of searching, humanity might have finally found proof they were not alone in the universe. "Take us there," Jake ordered. His voice stayed calm, but his heart was beating faster. "And wake up the Marines, just in case." 20 minutes later, Sergeant Danny Brooks arrived on the bridge with his gear still strapped to his chest. He was a big man with scars on his hands and a face that had seen many fights. Behind him came 3 more Marines, all looking ready for trouble. "What's the situation, Captain?" Danny asked. "We might have company," Jake replied. "The kind that builds spaceships." As they approached the moon, the Discovery's screens lit up with new contacts. A ship unlike anything in human records hung in space above the rocky surface. It was smooth and curved like it had grown instead of being built. Strange lights pulsed along its hull in patterns that seemed almost like breathing. "Captain," the communications officer called out, "they're sending us a signal. Can you understand it?" "The computer is working on it. Wait, ... I think they're trying to match our language. They must have been listening to our radio signals." The main screen flickered and then a face appeared. Jake had to fight not to step backward. The creature had 4 arms and skin that looked like colored glass. Its eyes were large and dark, set in a face that was too long and too narrow. When it spoke, the words came out slow and careful. "Greetings, beings of the vessel. I am Commander Vexstar of the Xanthari Empire. We come in peace to meet the humans." Jake straightened his uniform and moved to the center of the bridge. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Discovery. We're honored to meet you, Commander." The alien's head tilted in what might have been a nod. "We have watched your species for some time. Your radio signals reach far into space. We wish to learn about your people. We'd like to learn about yours too. Would you be willing to meet face to face?" Commander Vexstar seemed to consider this. His 4 hands moved in gestures that reminded Jake of sign language. "Yes, we will send a shuttle to your ship. You may send representatives to ours." An hour later, Jake stood in the Discovery's docking bay with Dr. Carter and Sergeant Brooks. The alien shuttle had no sharp edges or straight lines. It looked more like an egg than a spacecraft. When it opened, 4 Xanthari stepped out, moving with a grace that made them seem like they were floating. Commander Vexstar was even taller than he had appeared on screen. His crystalline skin caught the bay lights and threw them back in rainbow colors. The other aliens carried what might have been recording devices, though they looked nothing like human technology. "Welcome aboard the Discovery," Jake said, extending his hand. The commander looked at the gesture for a moment before reaching out with one of his 4 arms. His skin felt warm and smooth like polished stone. "Your ship is smaller than we expected," Vexstar said, looking around the docking bay. "How many of your kind travel with you?" 63 crew members, Dr. Carter answered. "This is a research vessel, not a warship." The aliens exchanged glances. Something in their expressions made Jake uncomfortable, though he could not put his finger on what. They spent the next 2 hours showing the Xanthari around the ship. The aliens were polite but seemed nervous. They asked many questions about human society, about Earth, about how humans lived and worked together. Their recording devices never stopped humming. The trouble started in the gymnasium. Danny had been explaining human physical fitness when one of the younger aliens asked for a demonstration. Without thinking much about it, Danny picked up a training knife and went through a basic combat routine. To human eyes, it was nothing special. Danny moved through the forms he had practiced thousands of times, showing how to attack and defend. how to strike vital points, how to disable an opponent quickly and quietly. It was the kind of thing any Marine could do in his sleep. The Xanthari watched with what Jake would later realize was growing horror. Their skin shifted to darker colors, and they began to back away from Danny, Commander Vexstar's forehands clenched into fists. "You train your people to kill," Vexstar said, his voice tight with something that might have been fear. Danny stopped mid-swing, confused. "Well, yeah. We have to be ready to defend ourselves." "Defend from what? From anything that wants to hurt? US or our people?" The aliens looked at each other, and Jake saw something pass between them that he did not understand. Commander Vexstar turned back to the humans, and his large eyes seemed to see them differently now. "We must return to our ship," he said. "There are things we must discuss with our people." The meeting ended quickly after that. The Xanthari left, without the formal ceremonies that Dr. Carter had prepared. As their shuttle pulled away from the Discovery, Jake stood at the observation window and watched it go. "Did we do something wrong?" Danny asked. He still held the training knife, though. He had lowered it to his side. Jake did not have an answer. Humanity had just made first contact with an alien species, and somehow it felt like they had already failed some kind of test on the Xanthari ship. Commander Vexstar stood before a communication panel, preparing to send a message that would change the galaxy forever. The humans seemed friendly enough, but what he had seen in that gymnasium would haunt his dreams. These creatures trained for war even in peacetime. They practiced killing with the same casual attitude that Xanthari used for meditation. And the way the human soldier had moved, precise, efficient, deadly, suggested a species that had evolved not just to survive, but to hunt. Vexstar began composing his report to the Xanthari High Council, though he knew they would not want to believe what he had to tell them. Humanity was not just another spacefaring species, they were predators.